On a Wing and a Prayer by Arun Sarma, winner of the Sahitya Academy Award 1998. About 250 pages, fits into our short book project. This is a story about conflict between the Muslims and Hindus in India. It's a very moving tale. Arun Sarma beautifully draws his characters, the landscape, the town. Mansur Ali is a Muslim boat worker, laborer. One day, the boat that he's on has to stop in a particular area, and he admires the land. It's beautiful. It's unencumbered. It's ownerless. Anybody who wants it can lay a claim. So after a while, he lays a claim to it. And over time, it becomes a Bengali Muslim settlement. And poor and landless people can come and settle there. And indeed they do, and they build their lives. Unfortunately for them, it happens to be near a Muslim town, Samise. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And the two communities live mostly in peace until the troubles start happening during India's struggle for independence from the British, and the struggles that ensue between what becomes India and Pakistan after they get the British out. Seemingly just where, pretty much everywhere where the British left, they left complete chaos and people at each other's throats, which served the interests of the British rulers because they were less interested in overpowering them than they were in fighting with each other. That's a game that only plays for so long. Eventually the British leave, and there is, in one sense or another, all hell to pay. This is not something that works out well for any of them, but let's get back to our story. So we have a Muslim village, a Hindu village, but there are troubles inside the Hindu village as well. It's a larger village. They are the dominant, numerically dominant population there. There is one particular landowner who is especially greedy and willing to do anything to gain more land. His predominant way of doing it is to put a claim on public lands and intimidate anyone who would object to such claims, and then the claims would eventually go through. In the center of the town, there was a pond or lake that the entire village used for various purposes, and one day this wealthy landowner puts a fence around it and claims it is his and that it has been his all along. Gojan, who is a well-liked person in the Brahmin community, is seemingly the only one who's willing to stand up and try to fight this. So he finds himself on the wrong end of a battle that he unfortunately has no chance of winning. But he's willing to do it anyway because it's right. And Gojan, he may seem like a dissipated youth. He is hot-headed. He is ready to fight with whoever wants to be fought with. But he has a profound sense of what is right and what is wrong. And he clearly feels that this is wrong, and the landowner is Kargi Muzadar's estate. From the main road of the local board, A straight path of about 1.5 furlongs stretch out like a ruler to his door. This is a private road maintained by the estate. Every now and then, charcoal from the nearby tea estates is brought in to line its two edges so that the mazudars ford and the vehicles of the occasional white visitors can ply smoothly. The pathway is neatly lined with evenly spaced trees which, despite their age, retain their beauty. There is a gatehouse where the path meets the compound, and behind it is the sprawling bungalow. You definitely get a flavor that this is not a poor man. This is not a man in need of confiscating lands that are available for the public good. Gojan, being the amicable young man that he is, builds strong ties with both communities, with the Muslims as well as with the Hindus, the Nepalis, who have a community nearby that are brought in as laborers. He gets along with everybody. He has an especially close relationship with one family in particular, whose daughter he loves. He watches her grow up, and he loves her. We don't get necessarily that it's a romantic love, although I think that's somewhat clear that as she becomes older, he's still a young enough man that the romantic aspect of it is a piece of what he is feeling internally. But also, he feels a sense of duty to the family who he has come to know and befriend. And as troubles start to break out, he worries about them and feels that he is going to have to take sides in this. Gojan realized that he would now have to summon all the courage he could and face up to some serious problems, the first among them being Hasina. Where would she live now, with whom, and how? It was decided that for the moment she could stay with them, sleeping in the front room on a sheet-covered reed mat. But his grandmother was averse to the idea of having a young Muslim girl living under the same room for long. The shed on the eastern side of the barn was open on two sides and held the loom and a hearth for boiling paddy. The loom had lain idle for a while. Ai's backache made it impossible for her to sit for long, so it was folded and put away. The hearth was moved to the timber shed, and the open sides were strongly walled up so that Hasina could live there. After the family's house is burned down, Gojan brings Hasina, the young woman that he clearly has feelings for, to live in his home where he and his grandmother live. The grandmother, as you see, is not conducive to this at all, and forces her to live in this shed, which is on the side of the barn. Eventually, as the community finds out that Gojan has brought a Muslim woman to live here among them, the problems become greater. This is a novel about a man who is a decent man trying to navigate difficult times. He has to take sides, but he is truly shocked by the number of friends who abandon him when he does take sides against their people, who are clearly in the wrong here. This is a novel about deep-seated prejudice. And when we read a novel like this from India, a culture which is somewhat alien to the cultures we are used to living in and reading about, we see that it could be about our neighbors. It could be about us. It could very easily be about the Middle East. It could be about different countries in Europe in a different time. There is a universality that Arun Sarma has hit upon in this novel. And I think the fact that it is a culture that is so different from ours in many respects makes it maybe something that we are more accepting of, or more accepting of the criticism of, before we turn a critical eye towards ourselves. Great novel. Highly recommend it. I will put a link to where I found the book down below. Thank you for joining me. I hope you choose at least one of these 3 novels to read, or perhaps you've read them before. If you have, put a note in the comments, or if you read them or decide you're going to read one, let me know. Let me know what you think. Thank you again. This is Ron Ruthstein for Reading Past Midnight. Stay up late, read. Don't let your children see you.